How's it going, my friends? I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to another episode of your podcast, Ocran Leaks, where, as always, we bring you stories of all kinds, but always interesting. Today we'll explore some stories and a bit of the life of an important but not so well-known character. Well, yes, it's very well known. Thanks to a photo that he appears next to the character everyone knows. I'm talking about Pocha. But the person we're going to talk about this time is someone unique. I'm making this episode with a lot of respect, and as a tribute to the old man, since the person who asked me to requested it that way. And even though I'm going to talk about situations that may seem like I'm mocking him, that's not the case. But I am only bringing you what I managed to research. From what I understood, they were moments of play and jokes, so please don't misunderstand me because it's not my intention to mock him at all. But the story has these moments. But anyway, let's start. This man's name is Juan Gonzalez Ortega, better known as Don Juan. But thanks to the corridos composed for him, he became much better known as the Comandante or the Viejito. So today we'll discover a bit of the history of Don Juan. What was his role in Pocha's organization, and how much influence he had over one of the most powerful figures in Mexico at that time. Don Juan, just like the Pocha, the Beltrans, and also like the blue color of the sky. He's from Sinaloa, born in the mountains of Badiraguato. Just like most people in these communities, he was born in an environment of poverty and a lack of opportunities. His birth is registered on the day 26th of June of the year 1939. Juanito, like many others, ventured into planting the only thing that made them money in those years, the famous grass, and also the beautiful flowers that left some profit. People who knew him say that he never aspired to achieve great wealth. He just wanted enough to support himself and his family. Since he was young, he became friends with Pocha's family, meaning her parents, Doña Consuelo and Don Ernesto. He always showed more maturity than most others. He was always with a calm attitude. That's why he started his career in this environment with small crops and low-profile jobs. He always cared a lot for Joaquin and protected him as if he were his own family. In the year 1993, when Pocha had his complications in Guatemala, with this Juanito became very sad. But imagine the surprise when a little over 7 years later, Pocha would regain his freedom. As soon as Pocha returned to the mountains to his hometown ranch in Tuna, Don Juan, who by then must have been around 62 years old, he was as happy as few to see his protege again. There on his ranch, and from there he never left his side. He seemed like Pocha's shadow. Wherever Pocha went, Don Juan was always by his side, whether it was Sinaloa, Chihuahua, or Durango. Don Juan was always there taking care of him because he said that he had left him once before. And because of this, he had spent over 7 years punished, and he wouldn't be left alone again. Don Juan would always be there to look after him, protect him from anything. Honestly, it was a genuine love and affection, like from a father to a son. That's how Don Juan, always ready, always attentive, he earned the nickname the Commander for giving quick advice. He was always well-equipped and fully geared, giving orders here and there, always focused on security for his boss. Don Juan. He never sought to gain notoriety, fame, or become a millionaire. He only asked for one thing, that people would listen to the advice and recommendations he gave. To the whole team, but especially Pocha, as always. It was for Pocha's safety, and obviously his team's. He focused on making sure everything was in order and that his boss lacked nothing. As you know, the most iconic photo that catapulted him to fame. The one where he's wearing a yellow shirt and camouflage pants, plus a camouflage cap and his famous dark sunglasses. And of course, we can't forget to mention that he appears fully equipped. and next to the one who was supposed to be the most wanted man in Mexico at that time, the Pocha. The photo was taken outside a small thatched hut owned by Guano, the brother of Pocha, up in the Sinaloan mountains, just past the Tuna. That's where his closeness with Pocha was evident, as well as his active role in the organization. As I already mentioned, the relationship between Don Juan and Pocha was much more than a simple professional collaboration. There was a deep bond of trust, respect, and affection. It was mutual, while El Pocha was the public figure and the face of the organization. Don Juan only operated under the shadows, ensuring that everything ran efficiently and smoothly. Some of Don Juan's responsibilities included paying the cooks and the people who did domestic work for El Pocha. He carried his package, his little suitcase, and took out the bills to make the corresponding payment to each employee. He made sure Pocha didn't lack anything wherever he slept, food, coffee, etc., whatever he needed. For practical purposes, he could be described as an advisor or consigliere, since his advice was always for the good of Pocha and for its security. The Pocha. He ordered to place a statue of Don Juan up in the Sierra. He had it quoted in bronze, but it came out to a fortune, so preferably. He decided to make it from another material that was much cheaper. But Juan was really excited, because he was going to unveil the statue. It was something never seen before in the ranches. There were churches, there were schools named after people, but never on the statue. But that was what Juan deserved. That and more. Pocha had it built for him, and he placed a note at the foot of the statue which read, "Lifetime recognition to the honorable citizen Mr. Juan Gutierrez Ortega, the Comandante, to his friends. Born in Tuna, Badiraguata, Sinaloa, the day 26 in June of the year 1939. Married to Mrs. Manuela Martinez and father of 4 children. His most notable quality, loyalty to his wife. Creator and founder of the La Tuna Badiraguato Ranch. His social and community works, church, school, clinic, and potable water network remain in history. Electrification and cobblestone streets. A faithful man, highly valued in the Tuna Ranch, and the surrounding ranches. Honor to whom honor is due, dated March 2009. That monument was something that excited the commander. It made him feel very proud. For Don Juan, it was the best gift that Pocha could have given him. That recognition was really appreciated, unfortunately. For Don Juan, the government was already aware of him, that he was a person very close to Pocha. And well, the intelligence work the government officials were doing confirmed that the commander, he was a key figure in Pocha's security. And that's why when they noticed the statue, right away, when they detected it, they decided to take it down. That's how they tied the statue with chains to a Humvee and pulled it down because they didn't think it was right for someone with a job like El Comandante or Don Juan, and being the supposed security chief of Pocha, that he made such a mockery of the government by building a monument in his name. Because of gossip and rumors and corridos, the government was eagerly searching for the commander. Here, I'll show you a photo of the statue. So, after Pocha returned to his hometown, La Tuna, after getting out of Puente Grande while he was in the Sierra of Sinaloa and Durango, Pocha asked his favorite band, Los Canelos de Durango, to compose a corrido for the commander. Pocha told Pepe Canelo to ask to El Viejito to give him some details about what he wants the corrido to say, obviously referring to Don Juan. And that's when Don Juan told Pepe his whole story and shared that he had gone through a lot, that he had had gunfights. And that's when he told him he had 18 scars all over his body, and he started showing them to him to prove he wasn't lying. That's how the corrido of Don Juanito the Commander, or Commander Don Juan, was born. The one that says under dark glasses he hides his gaze, walks very slowly, and almost never slips. That's the one. And as we have already discussed, all corridos have their fictional part. In this one is where it's mentioned that Don Juan had a dispute with another person over at Rancho del Arroyo Seco up in the mountains. And Don Juan was already in very bad shape, and in the end had to lock up his short one with his teeth. That he used his teeth is completely false. It never happened. But there was a detail with the corrido, because the song says he has a long one with huevos, but mine are worth more, and Pocha didn't like that. He found it very, very rude, and Pocha told Pepe to remove that, and that's when the commander jumped in and said, "Hey, Joaquin, you have a lot of corridos, and these guys keep making them for you all the time, and I've never told them to change or remove anything. I've never meddled with your songs. I like the song they made for me just the way they composed it, and I don't want you to change a thing, so please don't get involved in that." So Pocha had no choice but to just leave and say, "All right, you know what you're doing, so..." Here, I'm going to show you another picture of the commander taken at Licenciado's ranch, which was known as the Nopales. Here you can see Don Juan leaning against a log of the palapa, and also this other photo where he's getting out of an armored Cheyenne. Pocha spent his time playing jokes on the comandante, like, for instance, he would introduce girls to him and tell the commander that they were in love with him, and other times he would say, "Hey, comandante, I'm going to introduce you to a woman so you can finally get married. We need you to get married, and when the offspring grows up, we need your children to turn out like you, and have a bunch. That's how we'll populate the whole mountain range, because we need people like you. That way no one will mess with us." The commander, to be honest, sometimes he really believed it. But he also liked jokes and enjoyed making them. He loved to joke around. He got along really well with everyone. Extremely well. Everyone who was part of the security team around Pocha respected and valued him a lot. There was a cook from Pocha that the commander always said nice things to, and he was very courteous and attentive with her. I think it was Lily, the cook I mentioned to you. Amid all the comings and goings, all the stress with the government on top of them, the complications and everything happening with Pocha, the commander was the one who brought joy to Pocha's life. Just like that. Well, obviously there was another, bigger source of joy. Pocha's joy was women, but that's another story. What was amazing, at his age, seeing that Don Juan never backed down, he always kept up with the pace and steps of the young ones, since they experienced countless adventures, like when they got caught in the middle of a military operation. Juan never stayed behind. He always stuck by his boss's side. Up and down, walking through the mountains or wherever he was. Don Juan had an arm that was a bit weak, and he couldn't move it very well. It was his left arm, in fact. You can see it in the famous photo I mentioned earlier, where he's wearing his yellow shirt and camouflaged pants. You'll notice his left arm is a little shorter than the right one. And just like I tell you, with his arm like this, he had to confront the government, running, fleeing to save his boss. And they looked at the danger closely, but the old man didn't back down. I think he was the most loyal person to Guzman. Not his sons, nor his wives, nobody. I believe no one in the family was more loyal to Joaquin than the old man. He always advised him to take it easy, stay calm in one place, and not move around too much, coming and going from the mountains to the city and so on. He told him not to go to dances because Pocha loved going from dance to dance. One Friday he was in Durango, and by Sunday he was in Badiraguato at another dance, with the commander always advising him not to attend the dances, and also not to make dances of his own. And also that he wouldn't get drunk, because in one of those they could caught him sleeping or drunk. He was always on alert mod, looking out for his boss's safety. There's another corrido, for the commander is called The Commander's Loves, and it's sung by Los Alegres del Barranco. There he also says things you already know. They were jokes. The corrido says he had more than 100 women, and that once in the mountains, 2 women fought over Don Juan. And things like that, just so Don Juan would feel and people would see him like a real ladies' man. I'm going to show you a photo from the 31st of October Halloween. It was at the Dorado Stadium in Culiacan where Liebre, cousin of ML, showed up disguised as Pocha. And to make the costume more realistic, he took an old man from Porticelli and dressed him up as Don Juan. So he would stick with him all night because they went to that party I mentioned that took place at the soccer stadium in Culiacan. And he dressed like that because he lost a bet with ML and had to dress up as Pocha. Here's the photo. In fact, on that occasion, Jesus Alfredo, the younger one, was dressed as Barack Obama and took a photo with the Libre right there in the stadium. Here, I'll show you another photo where the commander appears with 2 young women. Since he was a celebrity, everyone liked to take pictures with him, and this time was no exception. These 2 young women asked to take a photo with the famous commander. So, as I already told you, the commander was always on the move with the Pocha, whether in Sinaloa, Durango, Chihuahua, or Sonora. Whether it was the mountains, the ranches, the beach, or the city, the commander always asked to be with Pocha, just to show you how things are. The old man all the time. He was next to one of the most powerful and supposedly most wanted men in Mexico. Just so you can see the level the commander was at, and of course, maybe he didn't do much in the organization, but he was among the big shots and advised them. He was very short, much shorter than Pocha. I'm going to tell you a series of funny situations so you can see what relaxed and amused Pocha. Because always, everyone, we have to have something that takes the stress away somehow. In this case, it was laughter. And for that, the commander was a real character. But well, let me tell you here, the Pocha, a joyful guy as he was, he convinced Commander Don Juan to let them put in the famous implant bomb, the thing men use to get an erection. Well, the fact is that they installed it, he recovered, he got better, and everything was fine. So once they were at a ranch on the outskirts of Culiacan, having a barbecue, they were cooking up some cuts they had been sent as a gift from Sonora. Really good meat. When suddenly Pocha told Commander, "Get ready! Because soon some girls are coming for you to break in the little bomb. They already called me and are super excited. 'Cause I told them you were coming and you should have seen how they reacted. They yelled at me over the phone." With this, the commander just widened his eyes and gave us some sort of a smile. Then it was reported over the radios that the government was heading towards the barbecue spot and, well, to be safe, they had to move. So they decided to go towards the Pueblos Unidos side and got to a plot that had a small shed. There was nothing else, just a construction with a roof above, no rooms, and, well, the soldiers. They were patrolling the area where the barbecue took place. So Don Juan and Pocha couldn't go back for the moment. 1 hour passed, then 2, then 3, and the commander couldn't hold it in and said to the Pocha, "Hey, Joaquin, I have a feeling these soldiers aren't going to leave. I think we need to look for another place for the girls to come, because imagine, I let them down. And then what are they going to say about me? They're going to bring me in gossips and rumors that I didn't face them. So I suggest we find another place nearby with a little house or something to get privacy because I see there's nowhere to bring the girls here. There's not even any room for them to sit, and Pocha says very seriously, 'You know what, Commander? Right now, I'm going to call the general from the military zone. telling him to immediately keep the army troops on lockdown at the barracks because you are absolutely right. I'm not gonna let your name be tarnished, and Don Juan just kept chuckling. Obviously, it was because Pocha knew that the soldiers were just giving tours, and that very soon they would be out of the area. And that's how it went. They lasted around 3 or 4 hours and then left. And then they could go back to the little ranch where they had the barbecue. Well, since they were already there, when the 2 young women arrived, 2 girls who were no more than 25 years old, well, they were already pretty worked up by Pocha about what they had to do. That's how they arrived and went into a little house with Don Juan. And there, in a room, they had a private moment with Don Juan. Pocha had told them that the most important thing was for Don Juan to be with at least one of them, and told them how they had to do it to activate the little pump, so that thing could work for Don Juan. The point was that they had to do it very naturally, with caresses and sweet talk, making him feel comfortable, so that Don Juan wouldn't notice until it was already firm. So, back there in the bedroom, with the girls being well guided with all the tricks, they did everything exactly as they were told. And suddenly Don Juan was already with that thing firm, that old man. And the girls were surprised and kept saying, "Wow, Don Juan, it's obvious that you is not normal. Look at your age, and you were able to make that get up and firm. There is no doubt that what they say is true. You are something special." And Don Juan just laughed nervously while the girls made advances to get intimate with him. Once that was ready and up, Don Juan didn't accept their proposals. So he sat the girls down and started telling them, "Listen, girls, if the guy asks, meaning the Pocha, tell him we were intimate, assure him." And after about an hour, the 3 of them came out of the room, and there was no one in the house, of course. Everyone was outside. So when they got outside, Pocha was sitting there, paying no attention to the commander, like he didn't care about what supposedly happened. But here it goes. Pocha had told the girls they had to keep that thing up. I mean, so they wouldn't trigger the little bomb to lower it again. That was the point of the prank. For Don Juan to come out with that thing up and not be able to get it down. Well, said and done, that's how it went. So there was Don Juan with that thing, and you could tell he was really uncomfortable because he didn't know how to get rid of it. He didn't know what to do until the commander couldn't take it anymore and told the Pocha, "Hey, Joaquin, I think the device they put on me is broken because look, it hasn't gone down. And I already did what I had to do in there, and it won't go down." And Pocha told him, "Hey, Commander, well, maybe that thing is so good it can be used for several rounds. Why don't you go back to hanging out with the girls? Maybe you need to use it until it's completely lowered." And the commander said, No, you know, Joaquin, I think this thing is useless. I've tried everything, and it won't go down even a centimeter. I'm embarrassed to walk around with this thing. Everyone sees me, and you can see it." And Pocha told him, "Hey, Commander, but did you get involved with both of them?" And Don Juan neither confirmed nor denied. He just chuckled, kind of wanting to say yes. And that was his way of convincing the Pocha that yes, that he had been with both women. But Don Juan insisted again to the Pocha, "Hey, Joaquin, no, this isn't right. It isn't right. Call the doctor to come and fix the problem. I'm way too uncomfortable. And I don't want to be like this everywhere. Just imagine seeing everyone. And if I have to greet someone and I'm standing there with that thing firm like this, what will they think of me?" And Pocha, he was dying of laughter, but he held it in. And Pocha told the commander, "You know what? You are right. I'll make them call the doctor right now." And he make like he instructed his secretary to call the doctor, which was a lie because he had closed his eye at him. And so he let it go for about 23 hours. And since no doctor had arrived, the Pocha told the commander, "Hey, Commander, He said what you needed to do so that thing would calm down, so don't worry about it. We'll fix it no matter what. Then Pocha told one of the girls to press the little bomb again so that thing would go down, and the commander entered the room with the girl. He pressed the little pump and it went down. Problem solved. After that, since the girls had left, Don Juan said to Pocha, "You know what, Joaquin? Stop bringing me girls. I can get them myself. And also, I know who to get in bed with, so don't do what you did today again." Pocha told him, "Whatever you say, Commander, you know you're the one in charge here." But the reality was that ever since they had installed the little pump on the commander, he hadn't even wanted to be with any woman. He always had endless excuses and always lied to Pocha, telling him that when he went to the ranch, like over there to La Tuna, and that there he had a very, very young and beautiful woman with whom he was intimate. And the truth was that he didn't want to be. Messing around with other women, he respected that a lot, and he didn't want to disrespect his women. Obviously, Pocha completely knew what Don Juan was doing. Back at the ranch, he knew he didn't have a woman and that everything he said was a lie, but it was part of Pocha's fun. Another thing that amused Pocha a lot was when he told the commander to check if the cook had the food ready to serve him, but Don Juan ignored him, and Pocha told him on purpose again because Don Juan, he was in a fight with the cook, because someone playing with him had told him, obviously under Pocha's instructions, that the cook wanted to poison him. For this, Pocha told one of his guys, "Tell the commander that a witch doctor told you the cook wants to poison the commander, and that you are sure it's true, because you've seen the things the cook does. And tell the commander to go see the witch doctor. Go to any witch you want, but you should ask about that." And that was the reason why the commander never ate what that Pocha cook made. He always excused himself by saying he wasn't hungry. In front of everyone but alone with Pocha, he told the truth. That someone told him that the cook wanted to poison him, and that he was 100% sure because a very trusted person had told him. The thing was that Don Juan completely believed everything the witches told him. So Pocha, still joking, he said, "Look, Commander, I'm going to call a wizard who is really recognized in that line of work, from Catemaco, Veracruz. He is one of the most recognized and prestigious that there might be. You know what? Because I want you to be seen, because honestly, you look really bad. And like that, it's better for you to ask the questions you want. Honestly, if you don't want to, you don't have to tell us anything, but I need you to be all right." And the commander, really excited, asked, "Are you really bringing a witch from over there? I've heard that in Veracruz there are the best witches. And I'm very happy because, you see, Joaquin, there are many things I need to talk to him about." And the Pocha says, "Oh, well, I'm going to send the plane just for that witch, so that he would be here this week, and you can count on that." The reality: no sorcerer was going to go. It was all a lie. But here's why this doesn't end here, Don Juan. He really believed in witches. He was fanatical about it. And all the boys who took care of Pocha told him that everyone went to witches and that they guessed everything. Don Juan didn't like guano very much, but he hated the cook from Pocha. He had a lasting feud with her because she always sided with El Guano and, well, since he wasn't the boss. The commander viewed that as a bad thing, and he would tell everyone, "Don't eat what this old lady makes. This old lady is a witch. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. She's a witch." Because other people told the commander that since the guano ate the food that lady prepared at night, the guano, he turned into an animal, into a mule. And once, they put on a whole show. They heard noises where they were, and the boys shot and went to tell Don Juan that they had shot a mule. Well, the next day, the guano wakes up with a patch on his leg because he had gotten injured the night before, and that he did not know why. And the commander just kept saying and screaming that he turned into a mule overnight because of what that witch gives you to eat, and the guys went out, shot, and they got you. See, that's what I'm telling you, but you don't listen to me, and it was just laughing and laughing at all the jokes they made at him. But anyway, going back to what I told you earlier about Pocha supposedly having sent for a sorcerer, from Catemaco, preparations began. They had to see how they could pass off one of the boys as a witch doctor. They needed someone who was very charming and could play the role well, so they thought. Which boy met those requirements? Well, friends, here ends the first part of this story. Stay tuned for next week to know the second part of the story. Thanks everyone for your support and look forward to more content from your friend Ocran. Greetings.